The 2025 NHL Playoffs are here. All 8 matchups are set and we're ready to rock, but we gotta know what the hell is going on, who has the advantage, and what to expect. So, here's everything you need to know going into the 2025 NHL Playoffs. The Winnipeg Jets versus the St. Louis Blues. After a historic 15-1 start to the regular season, the Winnipeg Jets remained on top of the mountain throughout the year and are the President's Trophy champs. This team is a juggernaut, a top 3 offense, and the league's best defensive metrics, all backed by their MVP in Connor Hellebuyck. That being said, they haven't won a playoff series since 2018. Which is why drawing a Blues team that went on a 12-game heater down the stretch may have been the scariest possible first-round outcome. When you look at the Jets, there isn't a glaring weakness. Their power play is the best in the league. Now, most teams run a 1-3-1, and so do the Jets. But the next evolution of great power plays is great movement. No one player stays in one designated spot. Players are constantly moving either from the flank to the middle or interchanging between posts, and it forces killers to make difficult split-second reads. With the Blues having the 27th ranked PK in the NHL, the Jets will look to take full advantage. Offensively, the Jets are a top 5 team in the league when it comes to even strength goals. Their execution of the 2-1-2 system allows them to dominate the game 5-on-5. The Jets are just fantastic at winning their battles down low by bringing numbers for support. With a high F3, they can quickly pop into space for a high danger chance. That F3 is crucial on both sides of the puck as well. Not only are they staying primed for a shooting threat, but their job is to also stay above the opposing team's third player in case of a counterattack. The execution and design allows them to quickly snuff out plays in the neutral zone and keep teams on their toes. The Blues, on the other hand, are a team that strongly value quality chances over quantity in the O-zone. Coach Jim Montgomery has brought that Boston style of offense over, where the Ds are very much active and in on the attack at every part of the ice. With how the Jets get 5 players in tight and use the support to snuff out plays below the goal line, the true opportunity for St. Louis will be high near the blue line. In the second half, where the Blues got hot, they used a ton of scissor plays with their D getting off the blue line to force defenses to find a dance partner. As the Jets D flex out to a man-on-man up high, if St. Louis can use these routes and stay patient for a high-danger chance, they could potentially give Winnipeg fits. Little nugget as well, there's no glaring weakness in Connor Hellebuyck's game either, but in the past playoffs and even a little bit in the Four Nations, shots from range with traffic in front has given him trouble. If St. Louis is making a mess up high in that zone while they have some traffic in front, that could be something to watch. The Blues were one of the hottest teams in the second half of the season, and going into these playoffs, they did stumble a little bit in the last 5 games. However, they're still red hot and they're a great team. That being said, in my completely wrong picks in the first round, I'm going to have to take the Winnipeg Jets. The Dallas Stars versus the Colorado Avalanche. To the surprise of no one, the Dallas Stars had another dominant season. They started off by going just over 500 and then straightened out their game. The Stars have made the conference finals in each of the last 2 seasons, but this year, they might be even better. The development of some of their young stars like Wyatt Johnston and Jake Ottinger can't be understated, but the biggest acquisition was Mikko Rantanen. Adding one of the best wingers in the league to already one of the best forward groups in the NHL, it is easy to slot Dallas as a cup contender. But down the stretch, there's been some minor red flags, like maybe blowing a 3-goal lead in under a minute to a non-playoff team, but hey, that should tighten up considering their opponent is none other than Rantanen's former team in the Colorado Avalanche. To start the season, the Avs couldn't buy a save, allowing 25 goals in the first 4 games. This team would have been dead to rights, but Nathan MacKinnon kept them afloat, while GM Chris McFarland literally rebuilt the team throughout the course of the season. A mind-boggling 9 in-season trades have completely reshaped the Avalanche into being a legitimate cup contender once again. Stylistically, both of these teams can crush you on the transition, but they do it in slightly different ways. Dallas's 1-2-2 neutral zone structure and team speed make going through the middle of the ice a nightmare. Once there's a turnover, their skill can flat out expose you on the counterattack. The other way is on their breakout. Dallas is a team that loves to use the high flyout play in their own end. As they get ready to break out, a high F3 is going to blow the zone and slash across to the other side of the ice. Now that's going to force one defender to back off to make sure he's covered, and that can leave space low and underneath for the center to come up the middle uncontested. The Stars have exposed Colorado with this a number of times, and it's a signature considering they used it quite frequently in their run to the conference final last season. As for the Avs, they've been able to break Dallas' structure with stretch passes. However, the key is to have a player or two go up the ice with a ton of speed to get behind the layers of Dallas. If Colorado can make a strong first pass, the Avs' speed differential by the time they get into the zone is just too much to stop. Pair that with how their speed in general on possessions gets teams backing up, they have the weapons and skill to stop up and take advantage of the gap. There are a couple of juicy storylines here. Obviously the Rantanen Bowl, but also the fact that Captain Gabriel Landeskog for the Avs will be suiting up for Game 1. That alone could provide a huge boost to the locker room. Pair that with the Stars' #1 defenseman and Miro Heiskanen not being healthy enough to go for Game 1 of the NHL playoffs, I think Colorado has the edge. This one's a coin flip to me, but I'm going to be taking the Avalanche in my completely wrong first-round picks, and it does suck that one bona fide Stanley Cup contender is going home early in round 1. Before we get into the next series, with the NHL playoffs being here, it is the very best time to catch a game live and in person. And if you want to do it while getting an unbelievable deal on tickets, you got to start using SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the best app for finding deals on tickets by rating them on a scale of 1 to 10 so you know if you're getting a good deal. If it's red, no bueno. If it's green, that is a banger. You should snatch up those tickets. SeatGeek is hooking us up with 15% off whether you're a new customer or not. I use SeatGeek all year to see the Leaf Cup parade get canceled and reinstated live, and come playoffs, you know I'm hitting it up again. But here's the thing, they got deals on every single live event, so whatever it is, you're getting the best bang for your buck. So if you want to see your favorite team live and on a discount, click the link in our description and use Hockey15 to get 15% off your next tickets. If you want the best seats in the house while getting a great deal, click the link in our description and get in on the action this season. The Vegas Golden Knights versus the Minnesota Wild. It's another year and another Pacific Division title for the Vegas Golden Knights. Last year, they were the Vegas injured reserves. This year, they have relatively gone under the radar as a potential Stanley Cup contender. They are going to be going mano-a-mano with the hospitalized Wild, who are actually no longer hospitalized, which is great news for Minnesota. This year, the Wild got off to the best start in franchise history. They went 26-4 through their first 30 games, and it looked like they finally made the jump to be one of the elite teams in the Western Conference. But just before Christmas, their star Kirill Kaprizov went down with an injury, and Minnesota saw the effects instantly. Their goals for went down, and so did their record, as they've gone 23-20-3 since. That is completely the definition of mid, but when fully healthy and firing, this team's success starts from their own end. Ranking 7th in expected goals against when 5-on-5, they're one of the few teams that play a man-on-man defense everywhere in their own end. When the Wild are humming, their pressure keeps the play on the outside, and as soon as there's a player to the interior, Minnesota can anticipate it and win their 1v1 battle and head the other way for a rush. Getting these stops just within the blue line against Vegas will be huge, because if Vegas has numbers back and is in their structure, they are extremely hard to bypass. Hence why they have a top 5 defense in the NHL. With that being said, a man-on-man defense leaves the door wide open for grade A chances if, well, you can beat your man. And so when Vegas introduces motions high and uses these scissor routes, Minnesota is forced to switch their man assignment. Unless communication and execution is flawless, it'll leave the puck carrier with some room to make a play. But the main contention for both teams will be Vegas's power play. Ranked 2nd in the NHL playing a traditional 1-3-1, everything runs through their MVP and Jack Eichel on the right flank. With Minnesota having the 31st ranked PK, Vegas will look to expose them with a number of options. The Wild play a diamond PK formation. When done right, it can limit shots and take away space, but it can also be exposed with a backdoor play or pass to the bumper. When Eichel has the puck, options are just hitting him in the face. He can go down low to Stone for a quick pass to the bumper. He himself can make that pass to the middle as well, or he can go down low and across to create a quick 2v1 play. That's all taken away. Jack Eichel can simply say f*** it and do it himself. Staying out of the box or stopping the entry will be Minnesota's best option. The Minnesota Wild are heavy dogs in this series, but there's holes to be exploited for them to pull it off. Personally though, I don't see any Minneapolis miracle happening anytime soon, and the house always has a funny way of winning things, so I'm going with Vegas. The LA Kings versus the Edmonton Oilers. For the 4th year in a row, it's Groundhog Day for the Kings. One more first-round playoff loss, and you might as well slap a Leaf logo on them. Edmonton has won each of the previous 3 series, and every time, they've eliminated LA in one less game than the year prior. But the difference maker for the past 3 years have always been McDavid and Draisaitl. The McDraisaitl combo can single-handedly take over an entire series. If both of these animals are healthy, they can wreak havoc in any way, shape, or form. Last year, a historic power play from the Oilers absolutely devastated the LA Kings. Anytime you give McDraisaitl power play time, their skill alone creates a volume of options that can pick apart any penalty kill. They may not be statistically as lethal, but I wouldn't recommend taking that chance. Now, we know what the two-headed monster is capable of, and with Draisaitl in the midst of an MVP caliber season, the Kings will have their hands full. That being said, LA is a better team this time around. Defensively, they rank second in the NHL in terms of overall goals against. The Oilers ate the Kings 1-3-1 neutral zone alive off the rush last postseason. So they came into this season and adjusted with a more traditional 1-2-2. When LA has time to set up, the Kings will form two layers and often leave teams trying to force something into the middle. When there's a quicker developing threat, watch how the F3 and back pressure kills any potential threat that Draisaitl has to work with. The Ds play a tight gap, and by the time Leon gets the puck, he's got no option but to dump it in. The Kings offensively are a middle-of-the-pack team, but they are heavy along the wall, with Edmonton's D being somewhat suspect and missing Mattias Ekholm, who thrives off a stop in the cycle along the boards. This could be an area that the Kings can expose. And in the 5 games they have played against each other this season, they've targeted this specifically to create offense. For Edmonton, there's a ton of wild cards. How healthy are McDavid and Draisaitl? Can Stuart Skinner be average or above? Also, the loss of Mattias Ekholm for the season, I just don't know if the Oilers have the support for their nuclear weapons like they did last year. So as a result, I'm taking the LA Kings as my completely wrong first-round pick to finally get over the hump. Only a fool bets against the McDraisaitl Happy Meal combo, so I can't wait to be wrong there. The Washington Capitals versus the Montreal Canadiens. Both of these teams have been a fantastic story in the NHL this season. With the 23rd best cup odds back in October, the only thing that people were excited about in Washington was Ovi's goal chase. But the Caps' retool has made them one of the best teams in the NHL while revitalizing Ovechkin's game in the process. They meet another wild story in the Montreal Canadiens. This year was supposed to just be another step in the rebuild, but they have surpassed expectations, and for the first time since the COVID season in 2021, they're going back to the dance. Led by their young core and becoming one of the youngest teams in NHL history to make the playoffs, the Caps are going to try and take advantage of Montreal's youth. Washington is fantastic at manufacturing mistakes, and it's what makes them so deadly on the counterattack. Similar to other teams, they do run a 1-2-2, and often when they break up a play with their structure, they're usually heading the other way to do damage. Against a team like Montreal that likes to get their D active in the rush, especially with rookie defenseman Lane Hudson, the Caps structure could force a juicy turnover for an on-man rush. As the second youngest team in the NHL, puck management at the Caps blue line will be critical for Montreal to have any chance in this series. With Montreal's youth, it'll be a balancing act of the good with the bad. At their best, there's a lot of offensive motion in their game. You'll usually see 5 guys moving around trying to create mismatches, and with Lane Hudson being able to single-handedly break D-zone structures with his shiftiness, the Habs can make some noise in the O-zone. However, with how the Caps force turnovers and counter, if they can catch them being over-aggressive, it's again bad news for the Habs. Now, Montreal does play the hybrid system in their own end where it's a box plus 1 down low and then man-on-man coverage as the puck heads up to the point. If Washington can go low to high and force Montreal to communicate and have to sort things out, Montreal could see a breakdown in their own end. In the playoffs, it's going to come down to execution. As a young team, the pressure and newness of the intensity may hinder that execution for Montreal. At the same time, though, if the Habs win one early, the pressure can lie squarely on Washington. The Capitals may still very well be hung over after the chase for Ovi's record. But as the best team in the East, Montreal will need to be close to flawless to pull it off. So in my completely wrong first-round pick, I think the Cinderella story comes to an end, and I'm going to take the Washington Capitals. The New Jersey Devils versus the Carolina Hurricanes. After a brief hiatus from the playoffs last season, a coaching change and improvements between the pipes have the Devils back in the postseason for just the second time since 2018. This one for the Devils was a roller coaster. They opened the year with the 4th best odds at winning the Cup and started off hot, winning 24 of their first 38 games. But you throw in a rough stretch towards the end of the season, some fiery quotes from your new head coach, and losing your best forward just a month before the playoffs, and this team has a lot of question marks going into the postseason. The Hurricanes, however, are expected to make some noise. For the last half of the decade, the Canes have lurked in the Eastern Conference as one of the best regular season teams, but with no true superstars to get them over the hump. So they tried acquiring one back in January when they picked up Mikko Rantanen for a cup of coffee before realizing that It just wasn't a good fit. But what's worked for Carolina this season is what's always worked under head coach Rod Brind'Amour. With only 2 players eclipsing the 60-point mark this season, the Hurricanes are one of the most structured and aggressive teams in the NHL. Carolina's strength is in their forecheck. If they're going to beat New Jersey, it starts there. The Hurricanes dump and chase more than almost every team in the NHL outside of Florida. Once the dumping happens, the F2 is going to pressure the weak side rim, the center is going to stay above the opposing team's center, and the D is going to pinch against the boards to cut off the play. However, the Devils are a team that can feast on the transition. If Carolina gets over-aggressive like they are here, New Jersey can take advantage by fighting the pressure and regrouping to make a play. With Carolina always wanting to be in your face, they can catch the Hurricanes' forecheckers being over-aggressive and even take advantage of the D pinching down in anticipation of cutting off the play to the boards. Like you see here, they do just that, create a 2-on-1 and score. That is how New Jersey will look to negate Carolina's biggest strength while playing into theirs. The most important battle in this series, though, will be special teams. With New Jersey being one of the best power plays in the league and Carolina owning the best PK, one of them is bound to break. The Devils, like the other best power plays, use motion to force switches and communication. The Hurricanes' success on the PK, though, comes from their aggression and cohesion. New Jersey must use a combination of motion and quick puck movement to get Carolina killers chasing like we see here. Once they're behind the play, they can take full advantage. However, the man that made that entire play possible was Jack Hughes. He would have been the X factor in this series, but shoulder surgery has him completely out for the season. Jack Hughes is at the core of what makes New Jersey as a team so dynamic, and without him, it's going to be very challenging getting over a stingy Carolina team. That's why in my completely wrong first-round picks, we're going Carolina. Maybe now I can get the Kovacevic treatment from Sheldon Keefe in a post-game presser. The Tampa Bay Lightning versus the Florida Panthers. The Battle of the Sunshine State in the first round is on again for the second year in a row. Last year, the Panthers beat them in 5 en route to winning a Stanley Cup, but there are some wrinkles this year. No one has played more hockey than the Panthers have the last 2 seasons. After going to back-to-back Cup finals, they sent a league-high 8 players to the Four Nations tournament, and it did its damage by having Matthew Tkachuk out until Game 1. Tampa, on the other hand, are a highly motivated team. After 2 first-round exits, they said see ya to their longtime captain Steven Stamkos and brought in Jake Guentzel. On top of that, Andrei Vasilevskiy should scare the shit out of everyone as he's returned to Vezina form, and Nikita Kucherov as the back-to-back Art Ross Trophy winner. That has allowed them to have a top 5 defense in the NHL along with the best offense in the league. As for the Panthers, they are one of, if not the best team in the NHL at forcing teams to the wall with their aggression and cohesion. But if there's one man who thrives in that area better than anyone in the world, it's Nikita Kucherov. While most players panic and have to throw the puck blindly into pressure, Kucherov's first touch, instincts, and playmaking vision allow him to be the most deadly player on the ice from the least dangerous area. In the O-zone, Tampa will rim a puck to Kucherov's side while a Tampa forward skates downward into the slot. Since Kucherov's on the wall and the opponent has to track a player with speed coming into the middle, a one-touch pass or quick move off the wall usually finds a man uncontested. With Florida wanting to pressure players right away on the wall, Kucherov welcomes with open arms an over-aggressive approach as it could very well leave a man wide open. Now, Florida's formula for success hasn't changed, and it all starts with their forecheck. They dump the puck in every chance they get, which is why they have the worst controlled zone entry percentage in the league. Using a 1-2-2, they come at you with waves to close off every option. Want to go up the strong side? Nope, the F1's already there pressuring you while the F2 seals the wall. Okay, let's try the weak side. Nope, Florida's F3 and D are already reading that and angling off the play. Even though the Panthers won a cup with this pressure, Tampa can expose this if they can make a quick play under the gun. Kucherov again thrives off of this exact thing. If he sees and feels pressures coming down the wall without proper support, he will make a quick cross-ice pass to spring Tampa on a rush chance. In the neutral zone, Florida will try and give them no space, but a well-timed play to draw in the pressure can open up some juicy holes for Tampa to take advantage. In short, the Panthers will try to overwhelm all areas of the ice with their aggression, but if the Lightning can remain patient and poised at the right moment, they can catch Florida with their pants down. Both of these teams have 2 Russian goaltenders that make shooters hate their lives. The Panthers now have an extra rat in Marchand, so this is going to be one hell of a tilt. However, I'm going to have to go with the Tampa Bay Lightning. But you don't have to worry because these picks are going to be completely wrong. The Toronto Maple Leafs versus the Ottawa Senators. Finally, leaving the Bermuda Triangle mid after 8 long years are the Ottawa Senators. After making a big offseason splash by adding goaltender Linus Ullmark and Dylan Cousins at the deadline, the Sens have finally gotten over the hump. And in their return, they play the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Battle of Ontario that in the early 2000s actually saw Leafs owning a team in the first round. I know, sounds like a folk story, but it's actually true. Now for the Leafs, they won their division for the first time since 1999 after they made a coaching change in the offseason. The Berube style of hockey is one that is supposed to translate to more playoff success, but we're going to see if that's the case. This series is going to be an all-out war. Leaf fans may not have wanted Florida in the first round, but they are getting a similar version. Like Florida, the Sens play a shoot and retrieve style of hockey that involves getting numbers on the puck, going low to high, and then putting pucks on net. It's compounded by their aggression along the wall in the O-zone by having very active D. Their F3s have been hardwired to support that pressure from the blue line, so defenders can step up with complete confidence that someone has their back. It's a meat and potatoes style of hockey that directly aligns with their captain's game in Brady Tkachuk. Tkachuk is a monster at getting possession down low, and with the Sens getting the puck to the point, that is where Tkachuk becomes his deadliest. At the net, he can tip pucks and use that frame to get in the eyes of the goalies. His sheer presence also demands multiple bodies to attend to him, yet he's still finding ways to bang in a goal. Now on the other side, the Leafs under Craig Berube play a similar style and are one of the best forechecking teams in the NHL. Playing a north-south and direct style of game, the Leafs and their top players aren't afraid to chip in pucks and use their physicality or IQ to force mistakes. This has actually made a player like Marner even deadlier. Marner's anticipation and positioning can turn Toronto's forecheck into a dangerous opportunity in a split second. His IQ allows him to be effective in every role on the forecheck, whether he's the F1, F2, or F3. However, what has Leaf fans finally feeling like it's their year is their depth. All four lines can score and are capable of playing that north-south Berube style of hockey. Against a top 10 defense in the NHL in Ottawa, I expect Toronto to play more conservative when entering the zone, as failing to do so has come back to bite them this season against the Senators. And while that may give Ottawa less chances for a counter chance, the Leafs and their top stars may have less opportunity to work their magic. It's a class of trade-off that likely means that this game will be won in the trenches and with the depth of both rosters. Both teams have stellar goaltending. This one is going to be a banger, and it may very well go 7 games. If it does, I don't think Toronto pulls it off, but I don't think it does. So we're taking the Toronto Maple Leafs in the completely wrong first round pick bracket, which informally means that the Cup parade is on heading into the first round. So what do you think of the first round? Who do you think gets through? Who is the true underdog that you think is going to pull off an upset? Let us know in the comments down below. We're also going to be doing breakdowns all throughout the playoffs. So if you want to make sure you're up to date, click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss out.